Alright, you big boys and flat tops, it's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blandford.
I'm Pat Sellers.
And I'm Sean Kelly. And we wish it was the 90s. In fact, we wish it was 1990. Welcome back to another episode of whatever it is this podcast does, where we today will be talking about the somewhat forgotten, but I guess nichely loved Dick Tracy.
Nichely?
Well, yeah, it's got a real interesting cult following. I wouldn't even know if it's cult following, but a really strong following from people that like it. It's got heaps of like weird production and post-production history. But I also, I think it was Pacino who actually said, this is one of the best productions he's ever been a part of, and can't believe that this film is somewhat forgotten.
I didn't even know it existed, so...
How old were you when this came out, though?
I was not quite one yet.
Yeah. Right. I mean, shit, we were 5. You're a year younger than me, Sean. 4.
Yeah, I was born in 87, and this came out in 90,
86.
so...
No, yeah, that makes me 4. I remember it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that then.
I remember having a VHS of this, complete with advertisements through the middle of it. So it was obviously on TV 1 or 2 at the time, which I think were the 2 options in New Zealand. Obviously later than 1990, I remember it, but couldn't really remember. I remember we watched it quite a lot. I remember putting the VHS on quite a lot, so I can remember the logo. I can remember a lot of Tommy guns. I remember the iconic Dick Tracy outfit and just a whole bunch of weird heads. I couldn't really remember the film. That was all I went into this rewatch remembering, really.
I'm similar. Like, I think I also had a VHS version of this that was recorded. I remember just absolutely fizzing for Dick Tracy. The yellow trench coat and hat was just something I wanted to wear, but actual memories of the movie, no real idea. Just, I didn't even remember how weird everyone looks. I just remember it being like a sort of gangster movie and thinking Dick Tracy was absolutely awesome. Sam, you'd never seen it, eh?
I honestly did not even know this existed.
Well, let's start with you then, with your, like, I don't want to lead anyone here. What are your thoughts on this film?
I think odd choice for us to podcast about from after watching it, because I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was fine. I also didn't think it was like awesome. But I could see why people love it. And like revere it. I came around on. I started off hating Dick Tracy. I feel like it's a little bit like your Cyclops love. But I came around on Dick. But Al Pacino is fucking awesome. He is awesome. But also, it's not. I don't think it's funny, but it's also not like there's no unintentional comedy either. It was just like it just seemed like an average film, which was a little bit odd to me.
Did you not find it funny that Big Boy Caprice, aka Pacino, kept misquoting famous people?
I didn't pick that up. I was just reveling in his performance. Anytime he's on the screen, he steals the scene. And look, and also I was there for Madonna. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That was an unbelievable performance.
Madonna has like obviously quite a few acting credits to her name, but I think she probably doesn't get the respect she deserves as an actor. She's pretty awesome, and she's definitely awesome in this.
Awesome looking too.
Well, that's why when Disney were releasing this, they moved it to one of their umbrella companies, Touchstone, because it was too risque for the Disney brand.
Bit of trivia in there.
Yeah. Sorry. Should have saved that for our new segment, Tracy Trivia. What about you, Pat? How do you feel revisiting this?
Yeah, revisit was it was interesting revisiting Ed Batman, but it was I don't know much about sort of the source material or anything like that, but I appreciated for a movie, or quote unquote superhero type movie from the 90s that isn't an origin movie. Like, it just gives you enough credit to go, you're gonna figure out these characters as we tell the story anyway.
I was talking to someone at work about how I've been watching this for the podcast, and this probably doesn't have the same effect on you, Sam, because you don't indulge in heaps of superhero content like Pat and I do. But I was absolutely rapt that from the start of this movie, you learn that Dick Tracy's a cop. He's the best cop, and he's real good at his job. He's well established. There's no how did he get the trench coat, or climbing the ranks of the force. You're just straight into Dick Tracy's the best cop. Here's all your mobsters. They're all established. Half of them are killed off at the start. There's no messing around.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated that. And I definitely didn't remember how good the cast was.
I don't reckon I knew half the actors who they were when I was watching this as a child, but to go back into this, and some of them you can barely recognize, but I was like, wow, this is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, you said, do you call it Ed Batman before?
Weird Batman.
Oh, weird Batman. Because I've got that written straight away at the start, as this seems like a Batman movie.
There's a couple of real key Batman elements. So Warren Beatty, who directed and stars as Dick Tracy, requested or asked Danny Elfman to do the music for the film because he loved his music for Batman 1989. So that instantly gives you that Michael Keaton Batman feel. And then also the production of the city clearly being just painted backdrops, and it's not you can tell it's not a real city, but it doesn't impact the movie. It's definitely leaning into the fact that this is a 1930s newspaper comic serial sort of thing.
Yeah, I reckon that was awesome. The mixture of animation, live action, color scheme and stuff was pretty awesome.
I was going to mention that in my Tracy Trivia section about how this is the last film to use painted backdrops for wide scenes.
Wow.
I've got a couple of questions for you guys. So we kind of talked about the style. I was interested in what your thoughts on the style of the production style, but we've sort of covered that. How did you guys feel about the love triangle?
Look, don't get me wrong. I do like Tess Trueheart, but I was gutted when I think I wrote down, you've got to give Madonna what she wants, Dick. You've got to give her what she wants. That scene where she's just begging him, and the females is a little bit like Cloud, Eris, and Tifa. Love triangle for me.
It was a classic. I kept thinking, because I went in with the knowledge, because I did a little bit of research before watching, that Warren Beatty directing and starring, and if I was directing and starring in a movie and had Madonna, I'd definitely direct her to throw herself at me too. In 1990, that is.
And 2000. And 2010.
That scene with her and him in his detective's office, I guess.
Mm.
She just struts in. It's like, because I didn't remember that Warren Beatty was the director of this as well as as the main actor, and that was a scene that was clearly because he was also the director. It's like, I can make this scene happen. Somewhat questionable.
Mm. What did you guys think of Dick Tracy's Apple Watch?
Smartwatch. Yeah, it's
Mm.
great.
I just put Dick's Apple Watch as mint.
Yeah. What did you guys think of Kid?
Jack, home Jack.
Yeah, Jack, Run Home Jack.
Benning, is that his name?
Uh,
Of all
yeah.
the huge names in the opening credits, Jack from Hook was definitely the biggest.
Mm.
Yeah, he was good. He was a great child actor. I feel like we don't get great child actors these days, but yeah, he's got some charisma, that kid.
What's it like, Charlie Corismo or something? Yeah, Charlie
Cosmo, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Smoke Kramer.
In the first sort of like 10 minutes, I was like, I don't remember this kid from watching it when I was younger, and I'm not enjoying him, but I like warmed up to him real fast. I also found the first 10 minutes quite jarring as I like tried to adjust to all these weird heads and faces, but once it got rolling, I was like, yeah, I'm well and truly into this. I'm having a great time.
Yeah, the weird heads and faces. That was one of the things I remembered. I remember there was heaps of real weird heads and faces, and then part of me was like, am I remembering Who Framed Roger Rabbit for some reason? And then when I saw some of the faces, I was like, yeah, no, I do remember this. Then, you know, a lot of slapping around of kids and females as well, which is somewhat jarring too.
Just a couple more questions, I think, about the plot at least. So I guess the movie revolves around Dick trying to take down Big Boy Caprice, who is obviously played phenomenally by Al Pacino, but in the background there's a faceless character with... I couldn't work out if it was a voice modulator or just a weird voice because they had no face in the background, seemingly trying to stitch everyone up, and it's kind of the side story but ultimate big bad, and then the twist at the end is that it's Breathless Maloney. How do you guys feel about the twist?
Didn't see it coming. It got me.
Yeah, it got me.
It was awful.
Oh, you didn't like it, Sam? Just because you were rooting for Breathless?
No, I don't mind that. But normally when there's a reveal like that, then it cuts back and gives us some kind of context as to why, or like it was just like, oh, she's there, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. It got me big time. I was like, just before the reveal, I was like going through my head, like, who is this going to be? It's going to have to be someone we've seen. And
it had to be her.
Breathless.
Be fair, I didn't think it was someone in a mask. I was like, because there's heaps of weird head people. I was like,
Yeah,
is
that's
this
the
a
other
person
thing.
without a face? So I was like,
Yeah, I was in on that. I was like, is this just a person without a face?
Yeah.
Because there was that person with a massive head and tiny face.
little face.
Just last plot question. Did you guys notice throughout the movie just heaps and heaps of awkward silent scenes where Dick is completely lost for words?
Just bad acting, wasn't it?
Because Warren Beatty's like
But he's the director as
reasonably
well, so
well
that's the
regarded
choice.
director and actor, so I think this is deliberate. And he just kept getting like absolutely stumped.
Pat?
I, to be fair, don't really notice it.
I probably didn't notice it because I was watching it on 1.25 times speed.
When you mentioned that now, private, wish it was the 90s chat, I was pretty chaffed.
I was like, I was trying to see what mumbles would be like on 1.25. I might have to go back.
Before we get into best bits, I guess this is kind of best bits anyway. I just want to acknowledge, we've already talked about Warren Beatty Jack from Hook, Madonna and Pacino. William Forsythe's flat top's really, really good. At the start, we've got Paul Sorvino, who I didn't know his name, but I instantly recognised him from The Sopranos as Lips Manless, who gets the concrete treatment. But then there's also Dick Van Dyke in there, Catherine O'Hara of Home Alone fame, James Caan, obviously big on his gangster movies, but probably one of the greatest performances I've ever witnessed is Dustin Hoffman as Mumbles.
He's great as Mumbles.
Let's get to that in the character draft. I'm sure he's in the top 6.
Mandy Patinkin is the piano guy.
Oh yeah, the piano guy's great.
Yeah, big fan.
Sweet. Well, we sort of didn't. Is there any other best bits that you guys like to throw in, or you want to jump into some quotes?
Definitely. No, I've got a couple of best bits before. Well, I've only really got one quote, but best bits. I didn't go back and rewatch it, but I'm at 85% sure this is what happened. That scene for Big Boy's big meeting where he's got all the gangsters in town to try and get them under one roof in some sort of incorporated structure or business, and they're all going to be one team basically against Dick Tracy, and Dick Tracy's on the building spying on them. And one of the guys that's I can't remember the actor's name, but he's Elf's dad on the movie Elf, the Christmas movie.
That's James.
Doesn't want to go out and he gets it. He leaves, goes in his car, gets blown to the sky with the car bomb, and so Dick has to make his quick exit off the building. He leaps for a lamppost. I'm 85% sure the stuntman slams his face into that lamppost.
Got that written down too.
He looks like he.
Believe me, there's more. There's more to come of that in Tracy Trivia.
All right. So Beatty was like, leave that in. Was it because the guy was too concussed to do another take?
I don't want to ruin our new segment by blowing it now, but yeah, I've got some really interesting stuff on that. That scene as well. I mean, whilst seeing as we're doing best bits and quotes together, in that scene, the Big Boy Caprice says, "You get behind me, we all profit. You challenge me, we all go down. There was one Napoleon, one Washington, one me."
Yeah, that was good.
So good.
Yeah. One of the very early quotes when you sort of they set the scene really well early on to say like Dick Tracy is weirdly like a police detective and local celebrity. He comes out and all the press are asking him questions, and one of the reporters goes, "Will you run for mayor?" "I'm a cop, Charlie. I don't want a demotion." Quite good.
What about you, Sammy?
I liked how the mask obviously took a little bit of Dick Tracy with the yellow trench coat and the hat. Just flashbacks to old Stanley Ipkiss.
I think it's with watching The Mask after Dick Tracy. Clearly, for people who are fans of Dick Tracy, that's like so is Stanley Ipkiss. That must be why, surely.
Yeah,
I was thinking that as well.
I like that. Dick Tracy is very cool, but being referred to as Tracy instead of Dick, or just not being referred to as Dick Tracy, was not quite as cool. I don't really think if you're going to go by one name, Tracy should be the name.
He gets called Tracy heaps,
especially by Breathless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and Kid, or as he calls himself later legally, Dick Tracy Jr.
Yeah, it was.
We'll get to how good the characters. We'll get to how good the characters were soon, but yeah, the Kid was great too. And also the other quote I liked from Al Pacino was every quote, but looking for generals. What do I got? Foot soldiers.
I had that written down.
He's on fire.
I've got one more Caprice quote as well towards the end, where he's with what's the other love interest name? I keep forgetting her name.
True Heart. Tess True
It's
Heart.
True Heart.
Yeah, Tess, and he's dragging her off, forced to kidnap her by the circumstance. And he goes, "Wait a minute, wait, I'm having a thought. Oh yes, I'm gonna have a thought. It's coming. It's gone."
His dialogue throughout that whole escape with Tess True Heart is hilarious. He keeps going on about how it's New Year's all the time. He keeps bringing it up, and he's like making a getaway and kidnapping someone. But he keeps talking about it. It also leads to my favourite scene, where his mannequin gets thrown down the stairs. That is fucking ridiculous. With that
it's also quite clear in that getaway that some of those dialogues have been recorded post-production, because it's just like a real like faraway shot, and you can see that he's not even talking at all, and it's just been thrown over the top in the scene.
Sure, I didn't notice that. It was still it was still really good. Yeah, he was saying some weird shit there. That was great.
I've only got one other quote, and I could do heaps, but I really enjoy actually there's a couple here, but just the interactions between Breathless and Dick. Early on, when he's he goes to talk to her about the death of Lips, Lips Manless, and he says, "No grief for Lips," and she's like, "I'm wearing black underwear." He says, "It's legal for me to take you down to the station and sweat it out of you under the lights," and she just goes, "I sweat better in the dark."
Yeah.
and then he rings her later, and she goes, "Thanks for calling. I was beginning to wonder what a girl had to do to get arrested." Oh no, yeah. And he goes, "Wearing that dress is a step in the right direction." And then when she pours a drink for him, and he says, "I'm on duty." She says, "What's your day off?" "Sunday." "It's a big world. Must be Sunday somewhere." It's just incredible. That's probably it for me for quotes. Anyone else?
I'm looking forward to Tracy Trivia. I'll go pour a cup of tea.
Oh. All right, let's get into some new segment. Sam, play the theme song for Tracy Trivia.
Should be that reporters sort of sting that keeps going up when they're doing the news flashes. That
Yeah. Look forward to Sam editing that in at the last minute.
very good.
Okay, Tracy Trivia. So in the film, there are only, excluding black and white, there are only 6 other main colours that you see. Red, blue, yellow, green, orange, and purple. And that's because those are the 6 colours that were used in the comic strip.
Mm.
Cool.
We mentioned this was the last film, one of the last films with paintings as backgrounds before CGI took over that element. We talked about how Pacino loves the film. A quote from Pacino: "Warren Beatty made a wonderful artistic film, even though now it's like it doesn't even exist."
He's saying what we're all thinking.
all the villains in particular, but all the characters in the film, its makeup and stuff like that, is based on how they look in the comic strip, except for Big Boy Caprice, which is completely reimagined by Pacino. So he designed how he wanted his character to look. And instead of being big and fat with a little nose, he became average height with large hands, nose, cheekbones, to match his character's name. So what else we got here? That's not that interesting. Highest grossing film of Warren Beatty's career.
Wow.
That gangsters boardroom scene that Pat was talking about is a on-screen reunion of Al Pacino and James Caan, who were the Corleone brothers in The Godfather. Here's an inside trivia segment, or Tracy trivia segment, of people who passed up or missed out on roles. James Caan himself, Harrison Ford, Richard Gere, Mel Gibson, Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and George C. Scott, and Tom Selleck were considered for the role of Dick Tracy. Apparently, not many people actually wanted to do it, and when they struggled to get a director. So when they asked Warren Beatty if he was keen to direct, and he said, "I'll only direct if I can also star as Dick Tracy," in which they were like, "Yes, please," because they were struggling to find a star. And then Beatty started moulding the film around what he wanted it to be, and a lot of people that are in it as almost favours to him through his earlier career in the 70s and 80s. De Niro and Nicholson were genuinely offered the role. Nicholson turned it down because he was doing the Joker, and De Niro refused it because he didn't want to be typecast as a hardened tough guy like his character from Taxi Driver. Martin Scorsese was in line to direct at one point, but had to turn it down because he locked in Goodfellas. Equally good films, in my opinion. Gene Hackman turned down the role of Lips Manless because he couldn't bear being directed by Warren Beatty again after his experience in a previous film called Reds. Macaulay Culkin had to turn down the role of the kid because he had signed on to do Home Alone.
Oh, choice.
Interestingly, though, Catherine O'Hara was able to appear in both films as she plays Culkin's mum, and I think she's one of the it's more of a cameo, but she plays the lady Tixie. Tim Burton was another one offered to direct, but turned it down for Edward Scissorhands. The role of Mumbles was originally going to go to Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh,
well, that's good.
It would have been good.
Would have also been good, but I mean, pretty happy with what we got.
Oh, yeah.
Pacino wanted to decline credit for the film and wanted to use a pseudonym. And in very early production, his role is credited to a person named Guido Frascati. This one's for you, Pat. So when Tracy leaps off the building onto the lamppost and smashes his face in the pole, which is seen in the film, he was asked years later by a reporter, journalist, whatever, about if he felt bad for the stunt person injuring themselves and ending up in the screen in the film, and he just replied with, "That was me."
Oh, wow. Any details on the injuries sustained?
I don't know if it was the injuries or the film, but it certainly started the end of his career.
That's why he's having all those long pauses after some people talk to him in the movie.
It's concussed as fuck.
The character of Littleface was really, really hard to create because in the comics he's a normal size head with a tiny face the size of a nose. So to create the effect, they actually cast a child and fitted him into an oversized body and made up a head to make it look like his face was tiny, and then was dubbed later with the voice of an adult.
That's weird as fuck.
I love this part. Warren Beatty wanted to put as many characters from the comics in the film as he could because he feared that they might not make a sequel. Which clearly
Well
they
done.
didn't.
Yeah. They can't. Didn't he kill like every single person in that big shootout? Going to be in the sequel.
Second to last one. So Madonna and Beatty were actually dating in real life during filming. And when he proposed to her, she stalled on the question of marriage. And so he ended their romance and claimed that the engagement ring he gave her was actually a friendship ring. Last thing. So post-production, Beatty seems, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but Beatty seems to have ownership over the property of Dick Tracy. And what appears to be some sort of rule in the contract is that in order to maintain ownership, Dick Tracy content has to come out every 5 or 10 years or whatever, so he can hold on to it. And so over the last 30 years, there's been like little cartoons or, little random shorts and stuff like that of Dick Tracy, so much as maybe a month ago. And you can find it on YouTube. There's a video called Tracy Zooms In that is a fake Zoom call between a random interviewer, Dick Tracy, and Warren Beatty. And at one point, Warren Beatty argue over the fact that Dick Tracy stood him up for a lunch.
I was YouTubing scene earlier, and I saw that come up.
And I'm guessing that's been done so that even though Warren Beatty's like 89 or 90 or something like that, he's still not prepared to give up the rights. And that concludes Tracy Trivia. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks for joining the podcast. Good night.
Oh, that segment should be called something like Bob Does Film History. I thought we were going to have to answer questions, so I was happy with how that went.
From now on, whenever we do a trivia segment, it's called Tracy Trivia, and Sam has to make that noise.
I've done a draw for positions in the character draft already, Bob.
Were you not paying attention to Tracy Trivia?
No. I listened. And you'll be pleased to know that you have first pick, Bob.
Oh, I'm not.
And Pat, you've got second pick, unfortunately for me, because I reckon third pick's the worst.
I don't know, man. Like, I can see 3 people that I'd happily draft here, so... But 1 and 6. But, like, 3 people that I would pick as my first pick. At least.
Yeah, I just think there's a big drop-off after 3, sorry, and...
I reckon we should take Bobby Boucher's mum off the list, because everyone's going to want to pick her.
That's fair enough.
Who's your true number 1 then, Bob?
I wasn't. Shit.
Well, who are the 3? Who are your 3 that you're tossing up between?
You can't show your hand yet.
No, I'm happy to show my hand.
They're not just lasting till 6.
Big boy, breathless. I've got 4. Kid, and probably Mumbles. I'm gonna take Breathless.
Good pick.
Yeah, she's the mastermind behind it all. She commands every scene she's in. She reignited things in me I didn't know I had. Pretty happy with Breathless's performance, in story and just as a character in general.
Nice.
A fair and solid number 1 draft. I'm going to take another one that everyone wants. I'm going to take 88 Keys, the piano player. Andy Patinkin. Playing 88 Keys. There's some phenomenal and not so much acting in this movie. The best acting in this movie comes from the character inside the movie doing some amazing acting when they're framing Dick Tracy murder, and he does that massive monologue screaming out down the stairs. You can't blackmail me, Dick Tracy. Nobody does that to me. I don't have to pay you. I don't have to give you a dime. I don't have to give you a nickel, Dick Tracy. And he's screaming, and he's just like, "You guy's acting his fucking pants off," and he really sells it. And that's how Dick Tracy goes down. So I'll take 88 keys. He was also just quite enjoyable throughout the movie. He has some pretty funny stuff. And then for Sammy's got to go.
Yep.
Sammy's got to go. I'm normally doing the back-to-backs in these draft. I get to have a little breather.
I don't really like it actually.
Pat, if you don't understand how the draft works by now, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, mate.
You throwing stones here.
Well, since Billy Joel's been taken off the list, well, I've got the easiest two picks. Pat's broken the character draft here by taking the Piano Man. My number one was Big Boy. He is just friggin' fantastic. Interesting that he decided what he was gonna. Because when I saw Big Boy Patrice, I thought all the other names made sense, whereas the Big Boy Patrice looking at Pacino didn't really make sense. I thought he should have just been like this obese guy who just sat there and gave orders.
Big character.
Patrice.
Yeah, I think I called him Patrice.
I thought you selected me.
Definitely Big Boy Caprice. Look, the people listening to this won't have watched Dick Tracy either, let's be honest.
If I've got any time tomorrow, I'm going to bombard our socials telling people to watch this movie.
And the fourth pick, I'm just going to go with Dick Tracy. Started off not liking him just because I just have this propensity to not like people that Sean likes and things. But I don't know, he had good chemistry with everyone on the set. Mumbles in particular, but the kid and him were great scenes. So was his scenes with Tess and Breathless. So Warren, I thought it was Beatty, but is it Beatty?
I thought it was Beatty, and then I heard Pat say Beatty once and ran with it.
I'm going to call him Warren Beatty because that's what I think his name is. I think he does a great job.
That stands to how his career hasn't stood the test of time.
It's not as bad as when we couldn't figure out if Pyro was English or Australian in the X-Men series.
Fuck me, Australian accent.
Yeah, they easily to mix up. I'll take my second pick. I will take Mumbles. Dusty Hoffman is outstanding in this. And yeah, mentioned before, I actually thought I might snap Dick Tracy, but he took him. He deserved it as well, especially for hearing that lamppost straight in his face. But those scenes with Dick Tracy and Mumbles are really good. And talking about the sort of quiet pauses with Dick Tracy not saying anything, there's some quite good like silent scenes from Mumbles just sort of skulking in the background. It's pretty funny. So I'll take Mumbles.
Is Mumbles like drunk or something, or is he just kind of like he's summing up with his mouth?
Oh no, there's a bit of a backstory where he was on the side of a building and tried to jump for a lamppost.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, that leaves me a pretty easy pick of the kid, who I definitely really enjoyed more and more as it went on. He got Dick Tracy out of a couple of hot spots as well. He was actually a very, very useful sidekick. And pretty glad that he ends up... I'd love to see a sequel and see where these characters have gone, and maybe that could lead us into our draft, because I'd love... It doesn't have to be a remake. It could be a sequel, but with new characters, so it's not that long in the future, but I'd love to see that relationship develop. I guess the kid is the only character in the story who has somewhat of an origin story.
If we had a fourth person on this, the character draft would have been just as good as well, because I think Tess Trueheart and Flat Top are two other great...
Flat Top's so good.
Characters.
And so is Tess.
there's just some real weird ones you got to throw in there as well.
What are we doing? Are we doing a recast? Pat, have you done a recast?
We're gonna recast. I did have that thought. That Sean had. I ended up going against it, but one of the thoughts I had for a recast was go sequel and have Tracy Jr. as Dick Tracy, but kind of thought of some other people and didn't even take that actor's name down. So with Dick Tracy, I was really splitting hairs between two. One of them was Ben Affleck, but I feel like he's been a weird Batman before. I've gone with Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent on Ted Lasso. He's also now Hercules in the MCU.
I know that
massive
guy.
talent. I reckon he would be awesome as a Dick Tracy. And the way I've sort of cast this as well is, although the quote-unquote good guys are sort of around that age, and I've gone quite a bit older for all the gangsters.
Can I just go back to the thing I do like about your Ben Affleck thought is, if you want to stay true to the original, he could be Dick Tracy and direct.
He could. The other thought there was that you could have Matt Damon as Flat Top. And keeping those two together. I've gone big boy. I've got Richard Kind. It's for Spin City. A little bit older. There was another one I thought of, Colin Farrell, because he basically almost looks like a little bit like Big Boy as his role in as the Penguin and latest Batman. But Richard Kind, I thought would do a really good job there. I think he's got enough weird there to just really go off the cuff with some weird dialogue through the escape scene there. I'd like to see what he could do with that.
As a character actor, he could perform any of the deformed gangster roles pretty well, couldn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
He would be awesome as Big Boy as well, I agree.
Yep. And I've also got my flat top as John C. Reilly. I think those two would go pretty well. Mumbles, I'm going to go with Tim Allen. They have old Mumbles.
Lovely.
Ruthless, especially if you're going to have Richard Kind kind of doing the work of Al Pacino. Also in the movie directing the musical shows. Got to have someone with a voice as well. Lady Gaga.
This is up Gaga's alley.
I think she'd be outstanding there, and if they got a bit of backing behind it, she'd probably take it as well, because I feel like she'd whip in the shoes of Madonna there. And my test true heart is Zoe Deschanel.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've kind of just got a bunch of random people that could fill in any of those gangsters' roles. They just got to have really expressive faces. Although I did note down prune face would be Tommy Lee Jones, but the various gangsters with expressive faces, you got your Vince Vaughns, you got Willem Dafoe, Michael Sheen, and Jim Carrey would be pulling any of those weird heads out really well. Notice that I haven't done the kid, because child actors is too hard. You just go to any school and the kid with too much self-confidence and they'll learn how to act.
Yeah, there aren't like as many well-known child stars as that feel, and maybe it's because we look back at the 90s now and go, like, Macaulay Culkin was a big deal or whatever, but it's hard to think of child actors at the moment.
Yeah,
you almost just have to pick someone out of a sitcom who's doing all right. It's quite hard.
What's Justin Bieber now?
Well, I've got a kid in my recast. Only did 5 people. I don't know whether this is blasphemy, but my Dick Tracy is Idris Elba. Bit of diversity to the cast.
He'd be good.
My
want him to be James Bond.
Breathless, Margot Robbie.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't quite sure on the, what's her name? Tess Trueheart. But my kid, Tom Holland.
Oh, yeah. Spider-Man.
And the big boy, what is it? Is it Caprice? Not Patrice. Big boy Caprice, Josh Brolin.
Oh, yeah. I heard.
Yeah. That'd be good.
That was all I had.
All of these are great ideas. And the only issue is that there's only one man who will play Dick Tracy, and that's Warren Beatty. But I'll take him as a 90-year-old Dick Tracy if we get the rest of these people in a movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else to add, lads?
We wrap it up.
Nah, I'm good. I think we're looking at doing some more films coming up, some Adam Sandler films, and we'll throw in maybe a debut of Father Ted in the next couple of weeks as well.
Yeah.
We've also had a request from one of our dear listeners, Shane Stratford, for us to revisit Mortal Kombat 1995 or the sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation 1997. He actually said that he was really disappointed in Sam's take on Raiden and was really, really, really interested in Sam's thoughts on the sequel. But yeah, anyway, signing off. We're on the socials. We started a TikTok, WIWT90S. We don't know how to do it because we're millennials. So it's just clips of stuff, but get on there. Instagram, same thing. Twitter, same handle. And yeah, we've got a Facebook group. Don't worry about it. No one does anything in there at the moment. Also, give us a little 5-star review on your provider of choice. Say whatever you want. It doesn't mess with the algorithms. Sledge us as much as you want, but give us 5 stars because that's really good. That helps us, pops us up in the search engines or something or other. And don't be afraid to recommend the podcast to a friend. We've been told that we're now top 5 podcasts for curing insomnia. So that's good news. Put it on, fall asleep, feel really good about yourself and everyone else who is a regular listener. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We have locked ourselves in for another 12 months. We're not going anywhere for that time.
Sorry, guys.
Felt like yeah. I saw Sam feeling pretty sheepish about that. So, yeah, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. And also YouTube's going better than it's ever been before. Thanks to everyone who likes and comments. And we're going to keep putting these out for people to maybe listen to, or even in the last 10 minutes. It's better than nothing. So keep hitting us up. We're going to stay. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are right now.
Yeah, cheers, guys.